The one that started it all. The viral TikTok potato stack. This was my first viral YouTube video. It's probably sitting at around 1.7 million views. This is the one that took a full day. This is the one that took around 30 minutes. But yeah, these potato stacks, I've been doing for like 5 years. We do them at pop-up dinners. Me and my buddy Byron Talbot, he's the one that made it popular. And it's a really good technique. I'm gonna show you the long method. It takes a whole day because you have to wait for it to set. Then I'm gonna show you the short method in this video. It takes you around 10 to 30 minutes. And then you'll decide which one you like better. So the potato of choice is going to be the russet Idaho potato. They're nice and starchy. We can leave the skins on if we want. We can remove the skins if we don't want the skins. I prefer the skins on. For today, you can still use a mandolin. This works f***ing great. I have this new contraption. This is my first time using this. It's a sheeter. So I'm gonna have sheets of potatoes. So if you can find one of these, definitely try this out. It's amazing. Okay, before we start slicing our potatoes, we need a landing pad because the potatoes will oxidize when we slice into them. They'll turn all brown. They'll look like shit. We don't want that. So we take a bowl, any sort of vessel, fill that up with half and half, and then I'm gonna do some nutmeg, some garlic powder, and some kosher salt. All the ratios are gonna be down below in that description. So what I did was I just got my rolls of potatoes, nice evenly sliced. If you don't have that, like I said, use the mandolin and it goes straight into the cream or the half and half or the milk, whatever you decide to use. Put that in there so it doesn't oxidize. And we hold this aside until we're ready to put it into our container of choice. The oven is also preset to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way. Okay, so for the container, I went ahead and did these square 6 pans. But first, I cut them into the size of the pan. So I just took my sheet, measured it along the side, and then just trimmed it. Then I stacked them up into a nice little stack. So basically, I want this really thin. I want to be able to see through this guy, sort of, kind of. You can see my fingers through this guy. What do you call this? A millimeter? About a millimeter. Tools for this project, or the mise en place. I have my melted butter, my container, my stack of potatoes, my parchment, and my pepper, all lined up ready to go. First though, very important, put the parchment paper down onto a buttered pan. I just buttered the pan because it helps it not stick and it tastes good. Parchment goes down and you want it to be draping along the edges. This is very important, you'll see why later on. So now we just start stacking. We do potato, then a brush of butter, and then I did peppercorn. I did like 4 types of peppercorn. You could just do like black peppercorn if you want. And then we just repeat this process over and over and over until we get to the very tippy top. Then we just cover it up, get it ready for the oven. And then drape it over with our parchment and then foil, toss it into a 375 degree oven until it's done. So until the potatoes are soft enough to stick a knife or toothpick through, that's when we know it's done. So I'd say around 30 to 40 minutes. Once we take it out of the oven, we press it with something heavy like a can of something, then we toss it into the fridge overnight. Also, friendly reminder, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. So once a day has passed, the stuff is fully cooled, we take it out of the fridge. It's gonna be kind of stuck to that container, which is why we have the parchment on both sides to pull it out. If it's still a little bit stuck, you can just heat up that bottom part of the container a little bit and that butter should release and then you can pull it out. Then at this point, you wanna just trim it to your liking. What I do is I just take off the edges that are really ugly and you can toss them or make mashed potatoes with it, whatever you wanna do. And then we cut it into our little equal size squares or rectangles, whatever you wanna do. Keep in mind, the thicker you go, the longer it's gonna take to fry these off. They're gonna be like really cold in the center. So I go with a nice thin piece so it's kind of an equal all around doneness. Fry it off at 350 degrees Fahrenheit in some rice oil. Then we toss it onto a rack when it's fully cooked, GBD, crispy outside, fluffy inside, it looks beautiful. We put on a sheet tray with a rack, and then I made this sour garlic salt, or you could do flaky salt. The sour garlic salt is delicious. I'll put the recipe down below for the sour garlic salt. Just give it a dusting on that, and there we go. We've got our crispy, delicious GBD potato stacks. The one that started it all. And now I'm gonna show you a faster way to do this. It's a little bit different. For the faster way, this is a method that I learned from my buddy Byron Talbot 5-6 years ago. We used to do this at certain pop-up dinners. So this method does not take a day. I have this KitchenAid spiralizer thing. So it took me around 5 to 10 minutes. Spin out my sheets, stack my sheets, cut my sheets. That's it. That's all there is to it. You got your potato stack, you press it down firmly, and then we cut it into squares, and we toss it into oil. The oil has to be a little bit lower, mind you, because if it's too high and rolling, boiling, it's gonna make those potatoes come apart. So around 320, 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and then let it go low and slow, GBD, and there we go. We have our beautiful little potato stacks. Tossed it with some of that sour garlic salt. While those were frying off, I cooked off a Wagyu tomahawk steak, because that only seems right, steak and potatoes, right? Put that on the plate, slice our steak, kind of the same size as our potatoes, and just shingled it, toss it with some flaky salt, and called it a day. We got our steak and potatoes. This is the one that took a full day. This is the one that took around 30 minutes. Now this one, a little crispier, a little more uniform. This one's a little softer. I mean, you decide which one looks better. I think they're both a little different. This one's more French fry-esque. This one's more potatoes gratin. Let's try it. It's a tasty potato. This one's very flavorful. Potatoes.